Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, I know you listen. Your video's working fine. I promise the video's not broken. You're supposed to be looking at a black screen right now. Everything's okay. I need to make sure everyone's paying attention. Rockets fans, I know you guys clicked on this video. This is for you. I'm doing this for you guys. I have a surprise. Just want to make sure you're okay. All right, you're here. Okay, cool. All right, future Nick editing this video. Bring the video in 3, 2, 1. Hello. You see this? You see the name of the guy that's on my shirt right now? This is mine. This belongs to Detroit. You cannot have this. But you know what you can have is not just this shirt, but dozens of options just like it. Detroit sports-themed apparel available only at thesecondstring.com. Use promo code Hinkle for 10% off. The link will be in the description. And before so many of you leave your smooth-brained comments about, oh, imagine how funny it would be if Detroit traded the pick and didn't draft Cade Cunningham. How funny would that? This would age terribly. You know what's going to age even worse? Is that. You're being a moron. Shut up. I have said a lot of, I feel like, not that they, okay, I haven't said mean things about the Rockets. I guess the only thing I've really said that's been mean is anything about the James Harden trade, which is just objective. Like, that's just fair. That's fair game. That's criticism that's warranted. I haven't said anything about Stephen Silas because nothing has been his fault. I haven't said, like, you can blame Raphael Stone for just terrible asset management. Like, I'm not mad at them for making the trade. I'm mad that 3 teams got better in the process. And I think the silver lining is, like, because there were Pistons fans who were like, oh my gosh, how could you let Christian Wood go? We're going to get to Christian Wood in just a second because it's topical because he plays for the Rockets. He used to play for Detroit. Anyways, people were like, how could you let Christian Wood go? Well, letting Christian Wood go eventually led to the butterfly effect is now we have Cade Cunningham. We have the first pick in the draft. So, like, there's that. The thing I think with Houston is, like, maybe if they got Jarrett Allen in that trade, right, if somehow that was facilitated, maybe they win, like, 1 or 2 more games or however many more games. Like, maybe they win too many games in such a way that now they don't have the second pick. Maybe they won enough games. You get what I'm saying? Like, there's a world where you're just, as a Rockets fan, like, well, we're in a really good spot right now, and I'm happy. I'm realizing now that I thought that maybe this was going to be a Kevin Porter Jr. video, and that was the plan, and now I'm realizing it might just be a Rockets video. I don't know what the title of this video is as I'm making it right now. Let's start with Kevin Porter Jr., though, and just kind of see where it goes. I don't know really what the barometer on what I'm about to say is. You might boo me into oblivion. I don't know how Rockets fans feel. I don't know how general NBA fans feel about KPJ. But I think that what they have in Houston, what we learned, especially like post G League stint with him, is wait a second, they might have a franchise player on their hands, and that's not and it feels weird to say that, but I'm telling you, the stint that he played in that G League bubble was so eye opening, and it almost turned like, was that the point that he turned into a point guard? Is that when the switch happened? Because he just. Am I wrong? Like, I don't remember him seeing the floor as well. I think, what did he finish with this year? 16-6. Like, he is such a fascinating piece for Houston's rebuild, and basically in the trade with Cleveland, all they had to do was pay for shipping. Like, that's really all that it took for Kevin Porter Jr. to get sent to the Rockets. And I get why. Like, we don't have to go. I don't want to go into why, because I don't think Kevin Porter Jr. jokes are funny. Everything that man's been through a lot, and I'm happy that he's in a situation where physically and mentally he's able to thrive. I think he was thrown into a bad situation to start with, positionally with Cleveland. You only say this about the Rockets though, is like, okay, KPJ tweets that he's a point guard now. I say that in quotes. He actually might be. But then I was like, wow, that's kind of cute. And I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot. The Rockets have John Wall. Wow. And that maybe that's disrespectful. I just forget that John Wall is still like a thing. That sounds really rude. I like John Wall. I'm just saying I forget that. Oh yeah, he's in Houston. I know I said this in a previous video. One of the things about him not being John Wall, him being Kevin Porter Jr., that interests me the most was this failure of evaluation that we had. I don't really know how else to frame it. Like at USC, we were like, this guy coming into the draft, we're like, this guy is just a pure shooter. Like he would, he showed some stuff. Like he could put the ball on the floor and kind of get to his spots a little bit. But like at the end of the day, you wanted him as like a spot up, pull up, off the dribble, catch and shoot wing. Like that's what people wanted. And then he gets to Cleveland and he's attacking, putting his head down, putting the ball on the floor and attacking the basket, right? He's driving to the rim and we're like, oh, so this is part of your game too? Okay, cool. We didn't see a lot of this, but if this is just going to be your thing now. And in Houston, like cite the most obvious one was the 50 piece that he had against Milwaukee. I think he hit 9 threes. He had 50 and 11. And he's attacking Drew Holiday off the dribble. The way that he navigates screens is really interesting. He can take you on a baseline pull-up. Like, he is so fun offensively. And he's just a big dude. Like, he's just such a physical guy. And he just... Gosh, is he fun? It was a game against Utah. I think he had a 28. Was it 28 that he had? I think it was on the road. All I remember is that Utah was wearing their green jerseys, I think. And he's hitting these, he's pulling off these Euros, and it's really cute. And I don't think he's like at like a B. Maybe he's at like a B tier level of being able to get to his spots. And I think that the way they saw it was also in that Milwaukee game that he was doing a lot of 2-man stuff with Christian Wood. There's the Christian Wood thing. Let me tell you something, man. I remember we let Christian Wood walk, or it was a sign and trade for whatever it was, and I remember being like, well, yeah, that sucks a lot, but I got over it pretty quick because I really liked Sadiq and I really liked Isaiah Stewart, and I just liked where Detroit was at. And then I remember it was sometime in like March, I just randomly I threw on a Rockets game, or was he hurt at the time? I don't remember at what point in the season it was, but it was well after the fact, right? And I just remember watching Christian Wood and being like, oh, I miss him. Another thing that I talked about in a previous video was just the prospect of having Kevin Porter Jr. and Jalen Green in your backcourt and I know that like there's still a reality. I think Kevin Porter Jr. I think you can slot him in like 3 positions and he can get away with it. So I wonder if there's a world where Silas rolls out like a Wall, Green, KPJ. Who you putting at the 4? Jayshawn Tate. You want to get real weird, and then Christian Wood at the 5. I don't know. I'm just spitballing. I don't actually care. Tate's another guy. There was like a weird Sadiq Bey, Jayshawn Tate thing that happened this year. Sadiq Bey's better. But that's not what we're doing today, Rockets fans, because here's the thing about Rockets fans is I actually really liked Houston for the better part of this last decade because I'm a huge Daryl Morey guy. He follows me on Twitter. I gotta give that's the what does Kenny always say? That's the homie. Whenever somebody follows Kenny on Twitter, he says that's the homie. Daryl Morey, that's the homie. Also sounds super lame when a 23-year-old white guy says that's the homie. But I like that. Like 2018 was Houston's best shot at winning a championship since the mid '90s, and I was rooting for them. And I like dynasties, and what Golden State was doing was fun. Which is there's a hot take. You guys are gonna hate that. I liked what Golden State was doing. I don't care. But I was like, I want Chris Paul. I like this Morey ball thing, and I think it's fun. And as Rockets fans have turned this corner, they've turned the page on the Harden era, and now they're in this rebuild. As a Pistons fan, even though we are ahead, I need to stop being mean. I like Rockets fans. We're like brothers in arms. Okay, we are locked and we are in lockstep, and we're gonna get through this together. And you guys have Kevin Porter, like Jalen Green. I know there's an argument. This video's been all over. I don't even know what this video's about anymore. I'm sorry. There's an argument for Mobley to be picked at 2, and I think that if you did like a front court, a 4-5 thing with Wood and Mobley, that would be so spacious and terrifying. Like talk about John Wall. John Wall might average 35 points a game. Well, no, because he would have so many options to pass to. I just mean because the lane would be clear, right? And John Wall could do his John Wall thing and just get to the rim and just like do a bunch of 360s and all this nonsense, like around the basket, and there would just be nobody there because the Rockets would be able to play 5 out all the time. And obviously they could still do that with Jalen Green. I'm just saying having 2 centers of that, or 2 bigs of that caliber who can stretch as well as those 2 can. Like Mobley, I know percentage-wise people are kind of like, well, I don't know. I promise you he's not a fully polished product, and I get that the argument for Mobley at 2 because he's personally my favorite player in this draft, other than Cade, obviously. This isn't about me. It's not about the Pistons. But Jalen Green, I think just as an off-ball threat, especially when you have a guy like Kevin Porter Jr. who just emerged as this really interesting playmaker. Like, he has all the tools. Like, imagine... Am I going to do another Jaylen Brown thing? Imagine if Jaylen Brown could pass the ball like Kevin Porter Jr. This point sucks. I know that there's right now there's a lot of talks about Houston, giving Detroit a godfather. Let me say this just on the Cade thing and Houston and all that stuff, because I know that it makes a lot of sense for Houston because Cade's from Texas, to have a franchise guy. That would be super valuable. I think that Houston is one of the few teams that can get close to a godfather offer for Cade and the number 1 pick, because ultimately if you're paying for the number 1 pick, you're probably going to have to overpay. And I think that, I know that people hate the Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and 6 for Cade Cunningham because that's a massive overpay for Oklahoma City. And I 100% agree with you. It is, but that's ultimately kind of what it takes. I'm not saying Oklahoma City should not consider that whatsoever. I'm just saying that, that you get where I'm going. Houston, I'm saying hard no hard no to anything that Houston has to offer me, especially if it has anything to do with Brooklyn's capital. I'm good there because that depreciated the second that you. Although they have the 2026 first, which will eventually. This video needs to end. I'm not talking about anything at this point. I'm sorry. I wanted to do a whole Kevin Porter Jr. thing, and at this point, I'm recording 4 videos today because I'm going on vacation and I need to stockpile them. So I'm sorry. I need to move on. Kevin Porter Jr. I love you, the Houston Rockets. I like you guys a lot. Rockets fans. I wish I made a better video for you guys. I promise I'll do it in the future. I also wanted to say this.